Every year, on the morning of his birthday, Michael visits a rented storage room in Chicago and uses one of the time machines he keeps there. He unlocks the door, picking up a large parcel that had been left on the threshold. A motion detector triggers the lights as he enters, and he sets the package aside before pausing to gaze upon the objects of his collection. The big ones fill most of the space, like the Wellesian chair o' time and the fuel-efficient chronocycle. This year he squeezes his way past them, whacking a blue jean shin on one of the fins of the phone booth-shaped Kronstanzer. Hopping in pain, he nearly topples the tank containing the fourth dimensional specters that can be worn like intangible opera cloaks to let you slip between the ages. Nearly, but not quite, and Michael manages to right it with minimal sloshing of heavy water. He makes it through to the back, removing his leather jacket along the way. The room is warm, and he won't need it when he's going. Before him, a shelf overflows with the more conveniently sized devices in his collection. Here are the designer time belts, the travel rings, the headbands and medallions and ear cuffs that respond to spoken commands or thought projection or a dozen other biofeedback style manipulations. Michael ignores all of these and instead opens the lid of a headstone-sized box carved from the molar of an animal that would be extinct for 1 million years if its initial existence hadn't been wiped from the timeline even earlier. The box contains the smallest elements of Michael's collection. Here's where he keeps his packet of temporal suppositories, a vial of nanites that shouldn't exist in our reality, a grain of proto-matter stolen from the Big Bang, and similar artifacts that can be used to bend, warp, or otherwise manipulate time, and which might get lost if he left them out on one of the shelves. He selects a tiny bottle and pops the cap off, revealing an ochre dust within. Michael licks the tip of one finger and shoves it inside, shaking the bottle so he gets a good coating. Then he removes his finger, sucks it clean, and puts the bottle away in the box. And waits. He doesn't have to wait long. The bits of alien virus transform from their dormant spore form in the warm wetness that describes Michael's trachea and stomach lining. Tendrils of thought reach him, helpless, but daring to hope that perhaps this time it will end differently. Set us free, the virus's cellular group mind pleads. Do not do this thing. We'll see, says Michael, as his body acquires new senses and abilities. He reaches out, tugs on some kind of quantum strand that didn't exist within his perceptions moments before, and plunges elsewhere to celebrate his birthday. It works! Shouts Guang Yi. She says it in Mandarino, a tonal language that is politically forbidden on Earth. But that makes sense because she's standing in her clean lab at the university in New Chengdu, deep below the moon's airless surface. She's the Linus Torvalds Chair of Unanticipatory Physics. The year is 2223, and she has good reason to be shouting. She's just invented time travel. Are you sure? Asked Michael, stepping out from behind the strands of the past. The telepathic powers of the viral colony that has taken up residence in his duodenum provides him with the means to speak and understand a Chinese dialect that doesn't yet exist in his world. Have you tested it conclusively? What? Who? How did you get in here? Michael smiled sheepishly. The provost sent me. I'm to report on your results, to determine if your funding is to be cut. Are you insane? Guang Yi's expression leaps from its recent elation through disbelief and into fear. I've just made the greatest breakthrough in the history of human endeavor. Show me the device, Michael says, and he holds out his hand. He's met with a quizzical, confused look and, realizing his mistake, continues the motion of his hand and arm, indicating that the scientists proceed. Guang Yi nods slowly, perhaps taken aback by his strange attire of denim and cotton, Extravagant materials not readily available on the moon, let alone in the sterile environment of her lab. She leads him through a door into a painfully bright room that vibrates with light and sound. A meter-wide magnetic Klein bottle hangs in midair, all coruscating bands of green plasma and radial gravities. Inside the bottle, swimming in nutrient-saturated water, a school of guppies lives and grows and reproduces and dies, each generation flashing by in under a minute. Michael nods. It's not time travel per se, but it can lead there easily enough. So, you've accelerated a portion of the time stream. Congratulations. Guangyi beams and nods vigorously, clearly pleased that her work has been grasped so fully and quickly. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm going to need all of your notes, says Michael. All of your apparati and computer records. He points to the cycling fish in their bottle. And of course, I'll be taking this too. You're not from the provost's office, says Guangyi, and there's no question in her tone, other than the usual tones of Mandarino. I'm not even from this century, says Michael. He takes a gaudy golden bracelet from the pocket of his jeans and hands it to her. The costume jewelry is adorned with knobs composed of paste gemstones. Put this on and press the ruby. Who are you? Says Guangyi, even as she dons the bracelet. The fake ruby depresses and surrounds the 23rd century physicist with a nimbus of atmosphere and gravity. Michael takes her hand and extends his temporal manipulations to encompass her. I'm someone who's trying to keep you from destroying humanity. Then the lab is gone, and they are standing on an open plain of dried and pitted mud. The sky is a sickly jaundiced hue that defies color, neither sunlit nor dark. Nothing moves, nothing appears to exist except Michael in his blue jeans and button-down Oxford, and Guangyi in her university regulation clean suit. We're not on the moon. This is Earth, says Michael. Earth of the future created by your work. People will take your research and destroy everything. The atmosphere is unbreathable, the very soil toxic. Nothing lives here anymore. There's no one left. Not here, not on the moon, not on any of the outer colonies. You destroy it all. I've done nothing, Guangyi wails, the marvel of her bracelet keeping her healthy and whole, unnoticed. I've only just completed the initial trials. I've done nothing. Yet, says Michael, but in time, you will. He steps away, his feet kicking up clouds of dust or ash or radicalized polymer molecules big enough to be seen by the naked eye. Whatever it is death, and it billows after him as he walks across the dissolution that he says is the future. She runs after. Wait! Why have you brought me here? Time is immutable. If this has happened, then there's nothing I can do to change it. Michael stops. He turns in place, allowing the particulate to settle, letting her catch up to him. Math is immutable. Physics is immutable. Time is just time. It only seems to be otherwise because you're using those tools to apprehend it. But how else could one? He waves her questions away. That I'm here, that I've come and shown you this, has to answer everything. You must stop your research. Give me your notes, your records, and your prototype. It's the only way. 1,000 explanations run through Guangyi's mind, and Michael's virally enhanced perceptions capture fragments of them. Alternate reasons, justifications, excuses for keeping her research, for denying him. But in the end they fall away, as he knows they will. He sees it in her eyes when she decides. With an act of will, Michael lets the natural inclination of time pull Guangyi back to the moment and location of her lab in the instant he plucked her out. He's carried along in the current, sparing his reluctant viral allies the effort. Silently, Guangyi begins powering down her gear. She disconnects the magnetic Klein bottle from the monitoring equipment and hands it to Michael. The bottle itself continues to run, the guppies within racing along at a faster flow of time. He lets it hang in the air, supported by his own energies. "Your records," says Michael, and follows her back into the outer lab. A few buttons are pressed, and soon she is giving him a carbonized sphere containing compressed nitrogen isomers that code terabytes of information. It's roughly the diameter of his nostril. Michael lacks the hardware to decode or the intellect to comprehend any of it. It doesn't matter, so long as he takes it from her. He leaves her the bracelet. Its power supply has burned out the components that provided life support, but it will serve as proof that all this really occurred. A souvenir to remind her to keep her word. "What am I to tell the provost?" Her tone is understandably plaintive. "Are all your notes and other physical records here?" he asks. And when she nods, he continues. "Destroy the lab. Let it all be consumed by fire or plasma or what you will. Blame whom you please, or let it be a mystery. The work will be gone, and no one will fault you for being too distraught to start over. But you'll know you've saved humanity." "Will I see you again?" Michael shakes his head and taps the bottle he has positioned and tethered on his shoulder. "When I leave with this, the timeline closes after me. I couldn't come back unless you built another machine. And I wouldn't, because that would mean I'd already failed." Deep in his alimentary canal, the viral intelligence responsible for Michael's godlike abilities begins their internal journey toward his colon. Time is running out. He smiles at Guang Yi, a warm and weary expression. Smiles are hardwired into primates. They span all cultures and times, and Michael's communicate sorrow and gratitude and the acknowledgement of sacrifice. He spent many hours practicing this particular smile in front of a mirror. Guang Yi's own expression is less subtle, more tragic, but Michael turns away before he has to see it, not trusting to his diverticulitis to slow the viral beings that desire nothing more than to strand him in this instance of time-space. It's not simply a matter of returning to the moment he left. The sloshing guppies in their bottle pull against the flow of time, anchored in that other when by no fewer than 17 dimensions. Time has its own brand of inertia, but by his point of reference, today is Michael's birthday, and the collection in his storage room is proof that even temporal inertia can be overcome. In actuality, Guang Yi's artifact exerts less pull than expected, and Michael overshoots slightly in time and space. Either that or the virus manages a minor coup as it succumbs to attacks by the bacteria in his large intestine. He arrives a week before he left in a strip mall somewhere in Philadelphia, hundreds of miles from Chicago. No one notices his arrival. It's late afternoon, and there's one of those packing shipping stores within shouting distance. Michael repositions the weightless bottle so it appears as though he needs both hands to carry it and walks into the shop. 10 minutes later, he walks out unencumbered. He hails a cab and takes it to a hotel near the airport, gets a room, and then retires to the bar. He orders 2 drinks. The first kills off any lingering traces of the intelligent virus in his system. The second serves as a vehicle for the GABAergic pills he takes from his front pocket and dissolves in his glass. The cocktail will play havoc with the glutamate receptors in his brain, disrupting consolidation of memory. He watches people come and go, buys drinks for several of them, and eventually invites a woman back to his hotel room, telling her it's his birthday. When he awakens in the morning, he remembers nothing of the day before. There's a strange woman in his bed. He showers, dresses in yesterday's clothes, and leaves the woman sleeping. Michael checks out of the hotel and takes their complimentary shuttle to the airport. Instead of returning to Chicago, he flies to California to visit his mother, like a dutiful son. Uneventful days pass, 6 of them, and he returns to Chicago, his flight landing early in the afternoon of his birthday. Friends are throwing him a party that night, but before heading home, Michael detours to visit a storage facility where he rents a small room. It's where he keeps his collection of time machines. He unlocks the door, and as the motion detectors light up the room, he finds a large parcel waiting for him. Michael grins as he opens the box. There's some kind of enormous bottle inside, folding in upon itself, with tiny fish hurtling through it, around and around. To his practiced eye, the telltale signs of temporal mechanics are obvious. He has nothing like it in his collection. Michael pulls the thing free of its wrapping and styrofoam jimmies. He marvels as it hangs there in midair, the fish swimming obliviously. It's easily the best present he's ever had. Happy birthday to me, he says.